Live from Austin, Texas, you're listening to the Next 15 Podcast Show with Trey North, a live podcast covering random topics such as relationships, current news, and everyday life issues, along with my co-hosts, Chris McAllister and Andrea Clark. Get ready for the next few minutes as we hope to make you laugh, educate, and inspire you. Welcome to the Next 15 Podcast Show. It's Friday night, 7 o'clock, and you know what time it is. It's time for another episode of the Next 15 Podcast Show with Trey North. And, of course, I can't forget my co-host, Chris McAllister.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is always good to be back in the saddle on this Friday night, man.
I know, man. It's great. Listen, we're missing our plus one in the chat room, Andrea Clark. She's taking the night off. And yeah, man, so she's getting some rest up, and we have, of course, coming up, you guys seen the advertisement, tonight's topic. But first, before I do that, I want to acknowledge everybody that's listening over there on Spreaker app, Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you may be listening, or our future downloaders. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We appreciate it. This episode tonight, man, is kind of a spinoff of last week's, bro.
Yeah, man. Even in my in and out on last week due to technical difficulties, man, last week's show was such a good show, and it was so good that it sparked another show. Yeah, that's how you know you got a good show.
I agree totally. Last week's show was Let Go of My Ego, and inspired tonight's show from two of our listeners that chimed in. And tonight's topic is called The Narc, short for the Narcissist, and we're gonna go ahead and bring in Jolene Santiago and Shamika Yarbrough. Welcome to the Next 15 Podcast Show. I'm gonna introduce Jolene. She is, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm all over the place this evening. Jolene is a curriculum instructional specialist for Killeen ISD and the president of media for Agape Church of God in Christ in Killeen, Texas. We welcome you to the Next 15 Podcast Show. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah. And then we're not going to forget one of our loyal listeners. She's a patient care advocate. She's from Lufkin, Texas, and currently resides in Grand Prairie. Again, she's one of the loyal listeners since October 20th, 2020. It's Shamika Yarbrough. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Well, hey, thank you for being on the show, participating tonight. We really appreciate it. Yeah, it's an honor having you guys here. Man, we're gonna dig into this thing. So everybody get ready, because this is about to be a deep one, I believe.
Yeah. Everybody clear your throats, guys. Let's get this. Let's have this grown-up conversation, shall we?
Yeah.
Well, you know what it is. It's the Narcissist. I guess first thing, Chris, we gotta talk about what is a narcissist.
Right. For the ones who don't know, let's let them know there, Trey.
You want to let them? Should we let them know? Like they already probably don't know. A narcissist is a person who has an excessive interest in or admiration of themselves. Now, I want to also add this to it too, man. A narcissistic personality disorder is one of several types of personality disorders. It's a mental condition in which people have an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention, admiration, troubled relationships, and this one is really a home run right here, and a lack of empathy for others. That pretty much sums it up for what is a narcissist. Anybody want to comment on that?
I just want to say that the last part where it says a lack of empathy, to me, that's what stands out the most, because I feel like that's one of the biggest characteristics that they have as a narcissist, is they have absolutely no empathy for anyone else. They can't put themselves in someone else's shoes.
Wow. Anything you want to add to that, Jolene?
Yes, so they're so self-centered. It's all about them. And so that's the reason why they don't have empathy for others, because it's all about them, their needs, their wants, and no one else matters. So it gets to the point where they're seeking this attention and it says, inflated, it's an excess,
Yeah.
overly inflated. It's all about them. So, yeah.
Yeah. Man, this was a learning experience for me. This topic. I've heard of the word narcissist, and I kind of got a broad definition or a meaning of what it was. But when I dug into the characteristics, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Wow, I found out some stuff, stuff about myself. I'm like,
right.
But how you guys think that our narcissists are created though? Because like, where does this come from? You know what I'm saying? Like what is this? Where does this narcissism come from? Like, is it something that's they were born into, or what?
You know what? I truly think that there are some personalities that trigger a narcissistic state of mind, right? But I also believe that they are also created. I believe that people can be in a situation for a very long time that they are created due to the fact of what they've been through or what they're in. So you have kind of the dynamic of both. Of some people are, I'm not gonna say they're born narcissists, but like you say, if they are very selfish, people who don't have siblings grow up as just them. They get everything they want, have always gotten everything they want as they grow up, and then by the time they become an adult, they don't know what no means. They don't, they don't have to worry about other people's feelings or having conversations about other people's feelings, and so they don't show that empathy because they don't know how to. And so, I truly believe that they can come from both worlds as of being created, and some just personality traits trigger into that also.
Yeah, I read that it was. Now this is what I got from my research, that it's not known what causes a narcissistic personality disorder. It says, as with personality development and with other mental health disorders, the cause of narcissistic personality disorder is likely complex. It's kind of linked to like the environment, like mismatch matches in like parenthood relationships, parent-child relationships, with either excessive adoration or excessive criticism that is poorly attuned to the child's experience. It could be genetics, inherited characteristics, or neurobiology, which is the connection between the brain and the behavior of thinking. So, that's what I got when it was, coming in, just kind of studying this, like where is it derived from? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then some people maybe equate it to a spirit. I don't know if, I don't know, from a pastoral view, how do you view that?
So yes, it can be, because a lot of things we deem as personalities and all that good stuff, a lot of it is actually spirits, because it can be changed, and it actually can be deterred also. I think once a narcissist doesn't mean that's always a narcissist, right?
Okay.
So if they can be changed, then that means it's a spirit attached to it. So a lot of people don't understand that if you get into something and it actually can be changed, then there's a spirit behind it. Now there's some things that just don't change. I can't change the fact that I'm black. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't care how much you pray that out, it'll never change. And so there are certain things that come with me because of the color of my skin. But like a narcissist, that transcends race, it transcends gender, it transcends age, because you have a lot of old narcissists and you got a lot of young narcissists.
I'm gonna go with. I don't know what this user is. I think that's an excuse because there can be managed through self-taught management. And then they say, "Yeah, my ex was the devil."
Wow. She might be right though.
It's Jackie. Okay, I'm sorry, Jackie. Jackie, I'm sorry. She's the one with the comment. Big shout out to Rod Garrett and Adrian Carter for tuning in, and all of you that are here with us. I mean, any comments to that, Shamika or Jolene? Please chime in.
When we talked about the when you said the excessive criticism, I think in my situation in the relationship that I was in, for me, I believe that's where it stemmed from. For him, was the excessive criticism. I do also think that sometimes it could be some type of abuse that they had previously, maybe as a child, and sometimes in my situation, like I probably will never know what transpired or what created him to be a narcissist. You know what I mean? Like, of course, he's gonna never think that he did anything wrong because he thinks he's always right.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes when we talk about how they're created, I think like Pastor Chris said, it could be so many different avenues or so many situations that could have happened in their past to create them that way. And if they already have those tendencies or personalities, like Pastor Chris said, it can develop into being a narcissist, I think.
Yeah. Rod says there are very few narcissists I know that learn to humble themselves. You know, so I mean, I guess, you know, it's treatable or manageable or I mean,
he's right in that sense that like once you get there, you know, a lot of them don't change. But that doesn't mean that they can't change. You know, most of them choose not to. Like she just said, that most narcissists don't even think that they're wrong. You know what I mean? Like their point of view is correct. It's not even their point of view. It's fact for them. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's truth for everybody. That's what they wanted you to believe, that it's truth for everybody, you know? And so that's, again, the lack of empathy of trying to see other people's point of view and all that good stuff.
Anything to add to that, Jolene?
It's their reality, you know, their mental state, that is their reality. And it's very hard for them to see somebody else's perspective, you know, and I believe that, you know, family plays a very important role in it. You know, I believe that when a child is little, you know, and the child is throwing a fit, you know, how do we respond and how do we react to that? You know, do we give them the attention that they're looking for? Because, you know, narcissists, they crave that attention. They seek that attention. And if they don't get it from certain people, then they'll go seek other people where they're going to get that attention from. So are we being enablers to this behavior?
Wow, that's good. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I never thought it in that limelight from your upbringing, from the aspect of parenting.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
That's, you know, and that's absolutely right. Like, again, I don't know none of y'all business. I'll talk about mine. There have been some things with me growing up that I have some of those traits due to the fact of my upbringing, not the fact that my parents did anything wrong. It's just that I came from a household where, you know, I have an older brother, but by the time I started maturing, you know, he was grown and married and gone. So I became almost like an only child, you know what I mean? And so I kind of lived the life of an only child, doing late middle school, high school type stuff. And I started catching these characteristics, if you will. Like, if I didn't get my way, you know, I was becoming very selfish. But, you know, I have parents who kind of nipped that in the bud as I had a father that was...
Does he equate to a beat down?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
or kick out, one of the two. So I dealt with that growing up, and so you know what? Can I be very honest with you? I feel like everybody has a little bit of narcissism in them.
I'm gonna agree with that.
Yeah,
I definitely want to get into that. Listen, I think I need to take a commercial break right quick, and we're going to come back with some of these comments in the chat room. If you could go over there on Spreaker side and see what's over there, Chris. But we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into the characteristics of a narcissist, and we're just gonna share that. We'll be right back. Y'all keep it locked right here. Check out these messages from the Next 15 podcast. We'll be right back. Thank you for listening to the Next 15 podcast show tonight. Tune in every Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on Spreaker. Join my co-hosts, Andrea Clark, Chris McAllister, and me, Trey North, for a night of random topics covering relationships, current news, and everyday life issues. Follow us at Next 15 Podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Or go to next15podcast.com and subscribe to our website for special content and news about upcoming podcasts. Go to Spreaker.com and join our chat room and participate during the live show. You can also listen to previous shows on Apple and Google Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, let's get back to the show. You're listening to the Next 15 podcast show with Trey North on Spreaker.com. And we're back. Thank you for tuning in to the Next 15 podcast show with my host, Chris McAllister, and along with our guests, Jolene from Colleen. It rhymes. It does. And then we got Shamika from Spreaker. But she lives in Dallas. I tried, Shamika. We're talking about, if you just tuned in, we're talking about the narc, or short for the narcissist. And we were just kind of talking about in the first segment what is a narcissist, and then what causes narcissism. And I wanted to go to the chat room. Rod asked a question about... I wonder how much grace one should give a narcissist who are willing not to change or themselves. That's a very good question. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna get into being in a narcissistic relationship and how to get out of that. I think we can. We should go there with that question, Rob. We can get that answer for you. What's going on in the chat room? I don't want to negate our Spreaker friends. What's going on over there, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely, man. We have Bree's Bonnets, man. She made the first comment. First of all, hey, Bree.
What up, Bree?
She says it's not that people can't change; they just refuse to. And that's absolutely right. And then she backdoored that when we're saying sometimes I think that narcissism comes from having too many mirrors in your house. Just ask my aunt, who has a mirror on every wall and the ceilings too.
Yeah, can't stand her.
Bree's hilarious. But she's absolutely right.
Yeah. And then Jackie says, not all the time there are good people. They just can't handle the criticism. Every child is different, and we should learn how to talk to someone. Yeah, I think so too. But Jolene, she made an interesting a point of our upbringing. If our parenting has allowed this, our style of parenting has allowed this type of creating this narcissistic demeanor. You know what I mean? And so, that kind of, I get it. Like the sense of entitlement. A lot of our millennials these years, no offense, but I mean, they have that sense of entitlement, and it's all about them and their ego and what you can do for them. And I mean, it kind of makes sense, when we dive into that and dissect that man, some of this may be coming or deriving from our parenting. No offense to parents out there, but I mean, it could be. I don't know. But anyway, let's talk about the characteristics of a narcissist. The lack of empathy. I know we talked about that earlier in the opening of the show. So, have anybody dealt with that? I know, Shamika, I think you said you dealt with the empathy, but Jolene, have you dealt with anything of that nature?
Oh, yes, definitely have. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how did that? I mean, relationship wise or just friendship? I mean, how
relationship wise. Relationship wise, it was just it got to the point where it can become very toxic, especially when the person is all about them. They don't consider somebody else's feelings. So And a lot of times the ending can be a very sad ending. I know we hear murder, suicide, and
wow.
we think about, how did it get to that point? Was it because a person was a narcissist and because they only thought about themselves? So there's very, very sad ending. And it's not just that, but you're putting people's lives in danger because you're not considering them. You're not considering their welfare and their well-being. So, a lot of times, their life can be endangered because they're not thinking about the other person. And so the relationship becomes very toxic. And so you have to come to the point that the victim has to be able to be strong enough to be able to cut those ties, because it could end very badly for those victims.
And you said suicide. That kind of made me wonder if one of the characteristics of a narcissist is if they have lack of self-esteem. You know what I mean? If that could be tied into that, would you guys say that might be something? I mean, because they have the lack of empathy, and then kind of like they kind of crave validation, maybe,
right?
Which could be something within the self-esteem realm.
Yeah. And then it also says, when I was kind of just reading through like my notes, and as I was just doing just a little research, it says like a narcissist also like always puts other people down. So it kind of blends into what you're saying. Like if they have self-esteem issues, somebody with low self-esteem will always try to bring you down with them. You know what I mean? And so a narcissist always puts other people down, especially in front of other people, like to make their self look better. They always have to be on top, or they always have to be the good looking one in any and every situation. And so, yeah, I totally agree with that a narcissist, or one of the characteristics could be low self-esteem, and they mask it by acting like they don't have that issue.
Oh wow, that's true. I can relate to that. What do you guys think about that, ladies?
Yeah, I agree. Just in my situation, there would be times like we would be in Walmart or something like that, and he would go to take a picture of somebody in front of us that he was making fun of, and he would take a picture and then like send it to his friends or whatever and be like, look at this, like it was always making fun of somebody else, always just being like that. And to me, I couldn't understand it because I'm like the total opposite of that. Wow. So it was a lot.
Wow.
Very critical, very critical.
Wow. Jackie says he was intimidated of me. He admitted to me he wanted to kill himself. Oh man, physically killing himself with drugs and alcohol on a daily basis. Wow. Yeah, to me that's like a form of depression, or you know what I mean? Almost like, wow. And they can mask that pretty well, huh? I mean, what it seems, like you said, the world revolves around them. They need their ego fed, and we talked about that in the previous episode last week about let go of my ego. But I mean, man, I'm not. That's kind of dangerous. That's dangerous. And not only that, just being a narcissist, when we talk about the physical abuse and the mental abuse of a narcissist, I mean, oh man, that's deep.
You know what? I have a question, and this is to our ladies on the show tonight, because it sounds like you guys both have dealt with narcissists in regards to relationship wise. At what point did you recognize, or did it came to a realization that you were in a relationship with a narcissist? Was it a red flag in the beginning, or was it midway, or were you at the tail end of the relationship and you were putting everything together and you were able to come up with that conclusion?
It was definitely at the end of the relationship. You don't notice it because they're very manipulative. And so they use the tools of manipulation to keep you bound in that relationship. And as long as they can get people to get on their side, You know, they don't mind tearing your name down. They don't mind talking to others about you, you know, putting your name through the mud and everything. But during the relationship, I didn't realize that I was going through it. I didn't realize until after. I got to the point where I just got so fed up. I got so tired. I was physically drained, emotionally drained, mentally drained, that finally I just said I had enough. And that was it. But then looking at the traits and the behavior of narcissists, because I started seeing those tendencies and those traits in other people. And so I wanted to know, okay, what was going on? Why are people behaving and reacting like this, you know? So then I began to understand after the relationship what I had been dealing with for so many years. But they are very smart. They are very manipulative, very calculating. So when they say and they throw out, I'm going to kill myself, is it because they don't want to lose you? Is it because they know that you're going to leave and they want to hold on to you so you don't leave? So it's very, very calculating, very manipulative.
Wow. You got anything to add to that, Shamika? Or?
Yeah, I have to agree with her. I didn't recognize it until the end of the relationship. Of course, during the relationship, I saw things that were happening, but I couldn't put a name on it until after it ended. And then as soon as I read a description of what a narcissist is, it fit that person to a T. One thing I wanted to bring up is one thing that they do is called love bombing. So they do that at the beginning of the relationship. So that just includes, they give you flattery, they give you compliments, adoration. You can do no wrong. You are the perfect person for them. You make their life so great. I mean, they reel you in with that, and they really just love bomb you until you just get in this state to where you're just oblivious to anything going on. You might pick up signs along the way, but like I say, it wasn't until the end so I could actually put a name to it and know exactly what it was.
Adrian Carter says, I was in a marriage for 16 years, together for 18, never knew he was was narcissistic until after I divorced him and saw his actions in another relationship. Wow. Man. Okay. Jeez. What you have, Chris? Or what you?
Yeah, I was going to say now that's something, you know, because it's even in a friendship, like a friendship besides a relationship or dating or marriage, it's sometimes you don't see it until you see them operating with somebody else. You know what I mean? It's not because you're on the outside looking in, and because there is a thing of being too close to a situation where you can't pinpoint stuff because you're too close to it. Sometimes you have to step back and you can actually better analyze something when you're, again, the outside person looking in. And so that just goes along with the young lady's statement that she just mentioned that after 18 years and then after the divorce, then she was like, oh, that's what I was married to. And then, that's to me, that's crazy. And sometimes I'll be wondering, do people think the same thing about me? Because, I'll be like, we have friendships and then friendships go away, or, you move out, you grow up and stuff like that. And then you go back and look at how people used to treat you. You know what I mean? And you'd be like, oh man, that's what they used to do to me, and or that's how they used to treat me, or that's what they used to say to me. And you're like, oh, they a narcissist, man. I mean, as I do this research, I'm like, man, I'm surrounded by these jokes. No, I'm just joking.
Hey, what's going over there in Spreaker over there?
Yeah. So in Spreaker again, Miss Bree, she said, if a guy told me that he would kill himself if I left him, I would ask him what color and type of suit he wanted to wear inside his casket and chuck him the deuce. Bree, that's hilarious. And then she says, some people unfortunately believe that putting others down will raise them up. That is totally untrue. That just makes them look even low down. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. Hey, I got a caller on the line. Welcome to the Next 15 podcast show. This is Trey North. Who am I speaking with, and where are you calling from?
Hey, hello, good evening, everyone. This is Rod Garrett, calling from Houston, Texas. How y'all doing?
I mean, we're doing good, Rod. What's going
What's
on,
going
man?
on, Rod?
Hey, doing good, man. Hey, just love tuning in, man, and just listening to the topic tonight. I just want to chime in on this topic, man, of narcissism. Man, I believe that, you know, when it comes to a person who's a narcissist, is that it's like that is a great masquerade for that person's inadequacy. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, and you know, you alluded to, you know, I heard somebody make a comment to it earlier. It's like, you know, they were dealing with so many insecurities and things that, you know, they want to feel validated. And one thing that they, you know, I've known people who use that control and manipulation. And when you peel back the layers off of them, which that they hide behind that, right? With the control and with, you know, I'm the sunshine and you know, you know nothing without me, you know, those type of things. If you really pull it back, then they're dealing with a lot of insecurities. And for the control and manipulation, it empowers them to feel like they are important by using those types of tactics and those things against the person. And you know, they masquerade it and say, well, you know, if you love me, you would do this. You know what I'm saying? Or I thought you loved me. And what happens is, what I've experienced, man, is like, in order for them to avoid dealing with the guilt or dealing with themselves in the mirror, what they would do is they would distance themselves from feeling any empathy or connecting with the other person's feelings because they make it all about themselves.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Louise Bernard says, wow, wish I had this topic discussed a long time ago. Just now understanding I was dealing with a narcissist in my younger days and didn't know it. That's true.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true. Man, Murad, that was deep. Yeah, man. I mean, that kind of helps us segue into that. Like, what are the warning signs, I guess, and Rod, I got you on the line. Rod, I'm just going to let you hit this one. What are maybe a warning sign that you may be getting involved with the narcissist? Like some of the red flags.
So one of the red flags, man, that I have seen in persons who have this personality trait, man, is that they're never wrong. And what they do is they kind of twist it to say, like, for example, if you're feeling, if you bring to their attention how they're making you feel, then they'll say, well, I don't understand why you're saying that. Like, why are you making this about me? I don't understand where you're coming from. I mean, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, or I thought you said you love me. If you love me, then you really wouldn't be, you know, trying to put all that on me. Why are you putting it all on me? And they're not. It's always never about themselves. It's always you. You know what I mean? And so that's a huge red flag. And then when they see that, like, you're at your wit's end and you're trying to pull yourself away from that grasp of being enslaved by those emotional shackles, then they say, well, I thought you loved me. I thought you loved me.
Yeah.
Or you don't love me? You know what I'm saying? So it's not about the love. It's about your willingness to be in tune with listening to how I feel and what this is doing to me.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Man, thank you so much, man. We appreciate it, man. Thank you for listening.
I appreciate y'all, man.
Thank you so
much.
much.
Sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Man, he always have a bunch of wisdom, man. I love listening and talking to Rob, man. He's such a good guy. Thank you for calling in, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, what he's saying was kind of, you know, was spot on. I mean,
right.
Yeah. I mean, what are some more other warning signs? I'll tell you what. Let me take another commercial break, and then we'll come in and we'll talk about some more of the warning signs that you may be getting involved with the narcissist. We'll come back and we'll come back in with Jolene and Shamika, our special guest tonight. You guys, we thank you so much for tuning in. Keep it locked right after these messages.
Hi, I'm Pastor Mike Johnson with Agape Church of God in Christ, where God's love is reaching out to you. We're located at 3000 Little Nolan Road in Killeen, Texas. We just want to invite you out to all of our services, starting with Sunday morning at 10:30, and we have a Sunday night service, a Bible study that starts at 6. We have Sunday Night Live, which starts at 7 o'clock. And so we'd like to invite you out to be with us here at Agape Church of God in Christ, the big little church, God's love reaching out to you.
Welcome back to the Next 15 podcast show. That's Agape Kojic Church in Killeen, Texas. That's Jolene's church. And a little bit later on, before we get out of here, we're going to talk to her about that. But we're talking, for those that are coming in, about narcissistic behavior. And before the commercial break, we were talking about the warning signs that you may be getting involved with a narcissist. And Jolene, the warning signs. Mm-hmm. Can you help us out with that? I think
the great thing about this show is we're spreading awareness. You know, right. You can't just pinpoint it without knowing the traits. Mm-hmm. And I think putting the traits out there and the characteristics of what a narcissist is really paints a picture in your mind, so that now you would be able to see. I know when I started doing research about what a narcissist is, then it's easier to pinpoint it and see it in other people. But if you don't know the traits, you don't know the characteristics, it's a lot harder to see.
Mm-hmm. So, what trait did you see as far as that you were involved with a narcissist?
Be it self-centeredness. It was all about him, and no matter how hard I tried, no matter how hard I gave into or tried to please, it just was never good enough. They demanded more, wanted more, and it's like, hey, this is a two-way, relationship. It's both sides. Yeah. And it tended to get to the point where it was just all about him, and he didn't care about my feelings. Even my actions and what I was doing was never good enough. They're very, and just to say, they're very cunning. So they're very charming, very good with people, very social. A lot of people see them as, wow, this is a really great guy. This is a really great girl, and they're seen as being really big in other people's eyes. And so they can't believe, they're never seen as, the other person's never seen as a victim. They're always the victim. I cheated because there's always justification. There's always reason why. I cheated because, even though in our minds, it's not okay. It's not good. But everything, every behavior, every action, they're justified. But they're seen as being a wonderful person, very cunning, very charming. They could never do any wrong in some people's eyes, and a lot of people just can't believe they would just ever do anything bad or anything wrong like that.
Yeah, I equate that to manipulation. You know what I mean? That's what it sounds like to me. One of the characteristics is manipulation, using others as an extension of their own self. Also, when I dug into it, it was stating that making decisions for others to suit their own needs. They may use his or her romantic partner, like you were saying, Jolene, or child friend or colleague, to meet unreasonable self-serving needs, like fulfilling like unrealized dreams, or cover up, like you said, self-perceived inadequacies and flaws that Rod talked about. Shamika, in addition to that manipulation, what would you say, like the warning signs, like the pre-stages, because sometimes, what having said all of that, we get so wrapped up in relationships and others that we overlook those small things like that, because we're in the ecstasy phase. And I always say that a lot. You're in the ecstasy stage of the relationship, and, as cunning and as manipulative as they are, you might not be aware. So should you be on guard at all time? I mean, like protect yourself in the ring at all times. I mean, what do you say to that, Shamika? And then what do you say as far as a warning sign that you may have noticed being in that type of relationship?
Well, I kind of have to piggyback off of Jolene because everything she said, I'm in agreement with. Basically, they are the life of the party. Like once they step in the room, like they're so social, they're so good with people. Like they never meet a stranger, but behind closed doors, it's something different. And they do just manipulate you to where you feel like they're just the best person in the world. But slowly they're breaking you down. I mean, to the point to where you're walking on eggshells. You're not wanting to do anything to upset them or rock the boat. And for me, I feel like narcissists are really attracted to empaths. So an empath is kind of what I describe my personality as, somebody who is the opposite of a narcissist. I'm very empathetic. I can feel other people's pain. I can feel when they're going through something. So it's like the narcissist, they're drawn to that because it's a predator versus prey type thing. And one thing that stuck out to me after I got out of the situation is some of the things that he liked to watch. One of his favorite movies was The Predator. Like when I saw that, I was like, wow. And then he liked to watch those National Geographic shows where the lion will go and like attack the gazelle, just really violent type of things. And I'm totally opposite. Like I can't watch that I don't like that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So when I saw that and just the movies that he likes, the type of shows that he likes, I was like, that's predator versus prey. Like,
wow.
That's exactly what that situation was. My situation was. Like, they seek you out. They seek that energy. If they can't get the energy from one source, they're going to find it from another source. Ooh. And a lot of times they end up having addictions.
Oh, wow.
Sexual addiction, pornography. They can never get enough. Like, they can never be satisfied enough. It's never good enough. Like Jolene said, it doesn't matter what you do. You can go to the moon and back. It's never going to be enough.
Wow. That's good. That's really good. You brought up the fact that nothing's ever enough to the point where it becomes of them having addictions. That's something there that is easy to look over and make people believe that they'll make their addiction feel normal to other people. You know what I mean? And they will try to rationalize its normalcy and try to make you believe that what is not normal is normal, and make you out to be the crazy one.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
man,
that's crazy, man. Also, yes, one sign that I studied was they're a conversational hoarder. They like to talk about themselves. They don't give you a chance to take part in a two-way conversation. Like, it's like you gotta struggle to have your views and your feelings heard. You know what I'm saying? And then when you do get in a word, when it's not in agreement with them, then you know what I mean. And then you got a problem. It's crazy. They're like, it's like almost like your comments or your views are gonna get corrected, dismissed, or either ignored. You know what I mean? And so, oh man, a conversational hoarder, and that just kind of alludes into like a conversation interrupter. Again, like many people have poor communication habit of interrupting others. I mean, and that's just a common trait. We all do that through just general conversation. You know what I mean? But the narcissist, man, they'll interrupt and quickly switch the focus back to themselves. Just very disingenuous. No little genuine interest in you at all. You know what I mean? It's just me, type of situation. So, I mean, those are some of the things that I found out when studying about it. But, I mean, anybody got anything else? I mean.
I agree with you on that. They do hoard the conversation, and if it's not something they don't want to hear, you know, they're just like, they just dismiss it. They will talk over you.
Yeah.
Just keep talking. It's not a back and forth.
Right.
They just constantly talk.
Yeah, yeah. Rod says they don't really love themselves and are dependent upon your need of them. Oh, man, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Louise Bernard, that's my mama. Great to listen to such wise people. I'm very proud. Oh, thank you, mama. Thank ya. I love you, mama. You always support me. Entitlement, man. Oh, go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that Bree put a comment here on Spreaker. She says, the sooner you catch the warning signs, the better. Then you can escape before feelings get too deeply involved. And she's absolutely right about that too, because that's what they want. They want you to fall head over heels. And it's almost like you fall into a deep, deep pit and then you're stuck there.
Man, what about the their sense of entitlement? You know what I mean? Again, I had to study on this, you know what I mean? And now I'm reevaluating things. But the entitlement, like they expect like preferential treatment. They want you to cater to them, you know, almost often instantly, like now, you know what I mean? Kind of like a Jeeves, you know, like you're Benson or something like that, you know. And their mindset is that the world just consistently, you know, revolves around them. Is that something that you two ladies may have experienced in that the sense of entitlement? Where you give yourself of someone, but then you're not even giving anything back in return. I mean, can we cover that part of it, if you can?
Yes, definitely. It goes back to, you know, self-centeredness, just being all about them, and you go above and beyond, you know, to give and, you know, what they want, and you don't get that in return. You know, so.
It's almost like it's almost like when we went back to the parenting, the when we're talking about the millennials, and I hate to just talk bad because there's not all millennials are not by all bad, but that entitlement, like, are we dealing with nowadays in 2021 with a majority of narcissistic people? I mean, again, you know, when you look at these traits and when you really just go dig deep into them, like Chris said earlier in the opening in the show, it's like, are all of us narcissists or carry those narcissistic traits in some form or fashion? Not necessarily it being a continuous thing, but I mean,
right.
I mean, like we've all interrupted conversations. We all have been selfish at one point in time in our lives where we wanted the focus on us. We've all felt entitled. You know what I mean? So, I mean, how do you equate the characteristics of a narcissist versus someone that's not a narcissist, but you have those tendencies, or you've had those tendencies, or share those?
Well, to me, the way you can define the difference is one is a lifestyle. The other one is just what you just said. Sometimes characteristics. Like a narcissist live their life as a narcissist. Like it's an everyday, all day thing. It's not just one situation. Well, I want the attention. I want the attention at all times, wherever I am. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It's not the fact that, you know, that I'm an interrupter of conversations. It's that all conversations are interrupted when I'm involved. You know what I mean? Like it is a way of life at that point. And I feel like that makes you, again, a narcissist when all these traits come together and it is solely who you are. I think Shamika said, like, when she read through it, it embodied the individual that she was speaking of. And that's the difference. It's not one moment in time. It's all the time in all moments. So
that's good. That's good. Y'all nodding your head, ladies, like, yeah.
like, yeah.
That was right on point.
But I do have a question, and again, this goes back to my ladies. I have a question because you've dealt with this kind of firsthand, right? what is one of the, what is, if you don't mind sharing, like one of the craziest things that was said to you by the narcissist that you happen to be in a relationship with? Like, what is the like, because if that entitlement is that high, that means they have their level of thinking of themselves has to be up there. What did they say, or what was said, or was anything ever said that just kind of threw you for a loop? What's the craziest thing they said to you at that point?
I think for me, it's, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think for me, it's more of it's a situation that I had gone through. I had a van, an older van that we were driving, and it didn't have any brakes. So the brakes went out. So I wasn't working at the time. And of course he was working. So he was the only one providing the income. So I said, well, let's go get the brakes, in the van. Let's go get it fixed. And he said, no, he wasn't going to. And I'm like, why not? Well, because, I'm going to spend, it's going to cost me money, Well, now you're putting your family in jeopardy, you're putting their health at risk. And I'm telling you, like, we were driving the van. I had to take them to work, and we couldn't stop. There were several times we couldn't stop. It was metal on metal. Brake pads were gone, metal on metal. We ran red lights, stop signs. We just could not stop. I'm telling you, like, God was truly with us. And so we had an argument because he did not want to get the van fixed. I said, well, we got 2 babies in the car, but because he wanted to be right, because he wanted to be the one to say when the money was spent and what it should be spent on, then I was made to seem wrong. But I went ahead anyway, and I got it done for the safety of my kids, of my babies, But in his mind, he was justified. In his mind, he was right. He didn't see anything wrong with it. And so that's one of the examples that I had gone through, and I had gone through several other experiences. But that's one of them. He didn't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And when I went to the mechanic said, you know what, I can't let you leave. He said, it's a miracle you're still alive. Wow. Because you were on metal. There is no way you could have stopped this vehicle.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. Shamika?
Yeah. For me, I don't know if I have, I have other experiences, but I think for me, it was, I know it when you're in a relationship, you do want the other person to look good as well. But I think for me, it was more of you represent me. So it was kind of like, if you don't look a certain way before we step out the house, like you got to go change, go put something else on. Like, to me, that's controlling. I should be able to control what I wear. Yeah, I want to look nice when I go outside, just like you do. But it was more of he had that sense of entitlement and that I have to look good. So anybody attached to me, is a representative of me too. So it was just very controlling, even in how you dress and how you wear your clothes. You know what I mean? And when that situation is like, you should be able to control some things. Like, I should be able to control what I wear. Like, as long as I'm not going out looking crazy, it's just like, just very controlling. And they just want to control every single aspect, period.
Like, so even, sorry to interrupt. So even in the way that you dress, it still was about them, and you're wearing the clothes.
Right.
Thank you.
How it's going to make them look. Wow. Wow. I'm stumped with that one.
Yeah. So then the question becomes at this point then is, with all that being said, then how do you begin to deal with it? Like, how did you begin to slowly distance yourselves, or how did you begin to back out of these situations and circumstances and these relationships with a narcissist? Like, how did you begin to maneuver, if you will? once you started noticing that, okay, hey, I'm dealing with this type of personality or this type of demeanor, what did you guys begin to do individually to break that hold that they might have on you?
For me, it got to the point where I was just fed up. I got to that. I couldn't take it anymore. Like I said before, I was just so exhausted, just mentally, physically, emotionally. I just couldn't take it anymore, and I said, I'll do better by myself. I'll do better being a single parent, raising my 2 little boys myself than have to deal with all of this. So for me, that was a breaking point for me because I had enough.
Jamaica?
So for me, I would say that probably a year before I left, the Lord started helping me with my healing because it was kind of like, okay, something is up. I had already been feeling a disconnect between us anyways. So I knew something was up. I just didn't know exactly what. And then also, the Lord just gave me a really good friend that I used to work with, Kalisha, if she's listening tonight. Hey, she really helped me too. And I just love how the Lord places people in our life precisely at the time that we need them. Because like Pastor Chris said, when you're in it, like you can't see it all the time. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of feel it just a little bit, but you can't really see it. And sometimes you need somebody on the outside looking in saying, hey, you really shouldn't be treated like this. Like you need to be treated better. Like he's not treating you right. So it's like, I kind of feel like when it comes to my healing, I got about a year head start on it because I just started slowly backing away, like emotionally, because I'm like, something's got to give because something is off.
Yeah. That's good. Man, this is kind of deep.
Yeah.
Man. So kind of that kind of takes us to like how to get out of a relationship like that. I mean, how does one, get out from under a narcissist, with them being, because, what I've learned and what it sounds like tonight, just basically they're codependent. I mean, they'll
Right.
do whatever they they can do to pull you back into the relationship. They'll convince you that they'll change. That's what it sounds to me. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
how do you get out of that? How do you free yourself from out of that type of, I call it a bondage. I mean, I don't know. Would y'all agree with that? I mean, and then, I mean, we can look at it as a spiritual aspect. Could be a form of a spirit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say just from listening and reading and just knowing that I operated with some myself, it's the way you get out of it's like ripping the Band-Aid off. Like you don't do it slow. You get out of there is what you do. You take it off. You know what I mean? Because if you begin to try to do it slow, it begins to hurt. You know what I mean? And so, like Shamika said, she like, once she started doing the healing, and like Miss Jolene said, once she got fed up, it was like, I'm done. You know what I mean? And that's it. It's over at that point. And I think that's almost the best way, because they are manipulative. They can make you or try to convince you to stay or bring you back because they are good at what they do. Because what they do is revert back to the beginning. And like Shamika said, that love bombing, right? So that'll make you think that they've changed because now they're doing what they used to do in the beginning of the relationship, which is throwing all this love at you and all this. And what they're just doing is just bringing you back in. So what you do is you rip the Band-Aid off. If you're done, then get out of there, do what you need to do. If you dealt with it, at first any amount of time at that point. That's how I feel. Just you rip that Band-Aid off, you get out of there, you get your kids, and you live your life at that point.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, at this point, I think in order to get out of it, you got to pretty much disconnect from that. I mean, emails, phone calls. I mean, whatever it takes. I mean, to me, you have to, got to keep telling. I think the best thing you could do is use the word no. In a situation like that, you know what I mean? Because they're going to try to come back. They're going to try to convince you that, give you a reason to stay with them. And really they need a reason to stay with you. You know what I mean? So, I just think you got to totally disconnect from that. And I don't know, when we talk about the abusive side, is that, could that right there is a problem in itself? Because if you're trying to get away from somebody who's abusive, now your life is in jeopardy. And, where do we go from here? What do we do from at that point? So, let's see what's in the chat room. Let's see. Adrian says, I've since seen a friend on Facebook in a group called Narcissistic Abuse Survivor Groups. Never knew that existed. Well, there you go right there. Oh, man.
Right.
Kimberly McAllister says, narcissists are right under your nose. Narcissists are right on. Wow.
Right.
You know what?
That's my wife. Hey, baby. You calling me a narcissist? Is that what you doing?
Yeah, right. What you saying? Norman says, "Hi. Are most abusers narcissists?" Oh, okay. That's a question.
That's a question. Okay.
Well, go ahead, Chris.
The answer to that question, I would say yes. I mean, for you to be an abuser, especially if you're talking physical, yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, because usually the reason why they're trying to abuse you is because, well, they want you to do what they want you to do. I mean, pretty much the controlling, like we said, of the narcissist, the controlling aspect of it. Man, wow, that's deep. I really didn't know a lot of people were, have dealt with this topic. You know what I mean? I think the best thing you could do when getting out of a relationship like that, man, is you just gotta focus on like your mental health and your future. You know what I mean? Because especially when kids are involved. I mean, and you're trying to pull out a relationship like that, and your own mental health is very important. You know what I mean? So, wow, this is crazy. I'm just learning a lot. That's all. I'm just learning a lot.
Right.
You had something?
Yeah, I have a question because I know I said it earlier. In regards to like all of us, it was said one day that all of us, at some point carry some of these traits. In any situation, have you ever caught yourself? And this is just for everybody. I was like, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you found yourself being narcissistic and not knowing it? And that's just a question to the panel. Are we self-aware enough? Because it says narcissists don't know that they're narcissists, right?
Okay, since nobody answered. For me, that's what got me right there. What you just said when I was reading this, I'm going, and that's why I posed the question earlier. What's the difference between a narcissist and somebody that carries those traits or have exercised those traits? Because I was going, man, and I know at one point, this is being transparent, and you guys know for me, I'm always transparent on my show. I'm like, man, I could have either been, am I a narcissist? Have I ever, been that way? Because, I know in my younger adult years, some of these traits were me, and it took me to do a 180. And for God, for me, when I accepted Christ in my life, I still had, I was still straddled the fence in certain areas. And as I began to spiritually mature and grow in Him, some of the stuff that the narcissist does that we just talked about tonight on tonight's show, I was doing. Now, I no longer do that, but I'm like, man, like, maybe I was a narcissist at one time, or maybe, I hate to say practicing like that's a witchcraft or something like that, but
practicing narcissism.
I'm practicing narcissism. It's an exorcism. We're having narcissism, but I mean, I'm just being transparent. That kind of got me to thinking, like, man, maybe I need to reevaluate myself, because like you just said, a narcissist, he doesn't know that he's or she's a narcissist. So right. I mean, Jesus, I don't know. That's a tough one, but it sure has me reevaluating some things in my personal life, and with me trying to just make sure, because for me now, I can be controlling when it comes to like, projects that I'm, working on, and I do, I've gotten better, I like dealing with people when I see my vision, like just with the podcast, I had to learn that, my team, like with Chris and Andrea, and other people that have been on the show, that I have to allow their creativity to flow and not just see it my way. I'm still I'm still the owner, but at the same time, it just can't be about my opinion. It has to, everybody has to take their own part on the show, just like we go back and forth. So, man, for me, I feel like at least practice narcissism, if that's a word. I don't know.
I got
what
you.
about you guys?
I'll say for me too. You know what? Almost from a man standpoint too. I think a lot of men, because of the old ways of what men taught of how a man should be a man, a lot of that was narcissism. I think as men, we were taught, the traits of narcissism, where like the woman has to listen to the man. Like you gotta, not saying that you just gotta pay all the bills, but you have to be you're the head of the house biblically, but if your wife can't give you any advice, that's a little narcissist. You know what I mean? Like, and so, and I'm talking from our generation. I can't speak for this new generation, and older, obviously. But yeah, I feel like as a man, some of us, what we learned from TV, that macho vibrato type stuff, women ain't having that nowadays. they'll be the first one to call you a narcissist, and that's what we thought was macho. You thought you was gonna be Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone and all the rest of them. But I feel like as a man, for the most part, a lot of that is taught down or handed down through the thought process of what a man should be, and what they're handing down is narcissism.
Well, Norman, I guess Mia, I apologize if I'm butchering your last name, but Norman says narcissists never change, he hears that, but I mean, is that really true? I mean, and he's not saying that they did. He's just saying he heard they never change.
He heard they never change. Yeah,
he heard they never change.
Hey, I think everything under the grace of God can be changed.
Amen.
So, God is bigger than any situation or circumstances that we could possibly even imagine, right?
Okay.
And so with that, is it likely? Who knows? But can God do it? Absolutely. So I never say never. You know what I mean? Because in that thing, like at the end of the day, we have to understand that we all deal with something, and if God can change us, He can change a narcissist.
Yeah,
that's not even a big deal in God's eye. Right. You know what I mean?
Nothing's impossible with Him.
There's nothing impossible at that point.
Yeah,
is it likely?
To change. but to play the devil's advocate on that, when he said he never changed, a narcissist would have to be willing to admit or see themselves as a narcissist. You know what I mean? So
right.
So I can see why it's challenging, and where they can't change. You know what I mean? I can see where the battle begins. In the mind, because like I said, before, when you're arguing with somebody, you're only arguing because you think you're right. You know what I mean? Who argues otherwise? You know what I'm saying? So in their mind, if they're battling the fact that, am I really I don't think I'm a narcissist, then how can they receive any type of help? Because even with Christ involved, when we pray and that we're believers and all that sounds good, but at the end of the day, you got to somehow at some point, God or the Spirit is going to have to touch you to the point or to the degree, or something's going to have to happen, whether it's minor or major, to make you look yourself in the mirror and be like, I am a narcissist and I really need to change.
Right.
So
and you know how God usually does that? God will allow you to lose everything you love. See, a narcissist won't change until he or she is by themselves with nothing.
Wow.
then they come to that realization. That's, we call it that, we call it the island of Patmos is what it's called, about when you are by yourself and you look around and you're surrounded by the one thing that can't change. You know what I mean? And so that's what, at the end of the day, that's what gets you to the point of, okay, now I have to analyze myself because I can't analyze anybody else because nobody else is around me. Nobody else want to fool with me. There's no relationship. There's, you know what I mean? And so now you're by yourself.
Yeah.
And so you lose everything.
Wow. That's good. Oh man, let's see what's up in the chat rooms. Adrian Carter, of the people that I've been in relationships with a narcissist, if you meet another person with these traits, would you date them? Of the people that have been in relationships with a narcissist, if you meet another person with these traits, would you date them? Oh,
okay, I see.
Yeah.
So that, ladies, would you like to answer that question?
Yes.
Since I know more of what a narcissist is, no, they're just stay away. I can pinpoint them out now because I've been through it, but
yeah,
they try to be that magnet, because they see that you're a kind person and they try to feed off of that, but I want to go back to that definition, where a definition of a narcissist, where it says excessive interest, and then also inflated was another word. So so when we look at those key words and those key terms within the definition, and you're looking at yourself, and you wonder if you have any of those tendencies. We also look at mentally, it's a mental disorder. And you can't change from day to day and from moment to moment. This person is is excessively this way, mental condition, inflated sense of their own importance. It doesn't fluctuate from day to day or situation to situation,
That's good. Shamika?
Yes, for me, no. Because it was kind of like, my mantra is protect my peace at all costs. Like,
I know that's right.
I mean, it's like once you get to that peace, like you don't want to ever go back there again. So if I see those tendencies, I'm not going to be attracted to that, because I'm going to recognize it. And I'm going to realize that if I do date this person, it could take me back to that place, or that person could be even worse.
Wow.
And, my life really could be in danger, like Jolene said. A lot of times it's a form of abuse. So when you talk about abuse, it could be so many levels, and it could be so many things that could happen. So no, I wouldn't be interested in dating someone who had those tendencies.
Yeah, I can understand that. So how do you heal from that? I mean, what was your healing process since you ladies have the experience? Like, did you seek counseling from a professional? Did you have to, I don't know.
Having a very good support group, family, very good support system. It could be family. For me, it was my church family, because my family at the time was not living here in Texas. But it was definitely, my church family was my biggest support system. And going to church and really just depending on God, trusting on God, having that relationship with God is what really brought me through the healing and all of the devastation that I had gone through. So me just depending on God, just going to service and just worshiping him and just giving it all to him and having him deal with me, because it's a process. Healing is a process. It's not a quick fix. It does take time. So definitely get involved. If you don't have a church home, counseling. I know we talk about being Christian, and there's nothing wrong with counseling. There's nothing wrong with just talking to somebody, So I'm definitely all for it. We all need somebody that we can speak to.
Yeah. And I like the counseling, professional counseling. I'm gonna throw that in there too, because a lot of us, they want to go. They're quick to run to a pastor, but I mean, wonder if your pastor don't have the experience when it comes to something like this.
Right. And I can speak to that as a pastor, man. Even as a pastor, there's some things that we can do to help heal the soul. But there are things that a counselor can do to help heal the mind. And so at that point, they know the right questions. This is something that they are taught in. You don't go to your pastor when you need surgery, open heart surgery, right? And so, you go to a surgeon, a heart doctor, or cardiologist or whoever, right? And the same thing, we have made counseling an evil thing, especially in the Black community. Like that's only for crazy folks. Like, no, you crazy and you need counseling. and it's always good to have that. And so I truly believe, like, if you're dealing with it or have dealt with it, counseling is one of the greatest things that you could possibly do in regards to healing from dealing with a narcissist.
Yeah, that's facts, man. Wow, this has been good. This has been good. I mean, I didn't even notice how long we are. It's like
oh yeah,
it's
man.
Over. This has been really good. Now,
I'm good topic.
It's a very good and good topic. I guess finally, in my mind, how do you help a narcissist? I mean, is it possible? I mean, what can you do? I mean, I get the fact that you have to understand their narcissism, and I know you kind of have to be careful to offer them help. But other than that, how do you help, somebody see what they can't see? Their perception is their reality. So
then you let their perception change. And again, like I said, sometimes the best way to help is to be that first one to walk away. Is to show them that they don't have control over everything like they think they do. You know what I mean? Good. And then they begin to lose grip on their reality because they thought they had you, and now you no longer kind of exist in their reality. Then they start looking around like, okay, what else am I delusional about? If you will.
Yeah. And we hear the most popular answer, get out, roll out, never come back, don't answer the phone calls. I mean, I get all of that. Now let's put this into the perspective of a Christian, though. I mean, and I understand you might have tried to help them, and then that was the alternative was, well, it's not working, I'm out. But how do we, I mean, other than prayer, I get it. Do you reach out to their families? Do you reach out to, the mother, the father, or the sister, or the brother, and say, listen, we need to have a come to Jesus meeting, or, it's kind of hard when you married to somebody and you be like, hey, your son or your daughter is a narcissist, and they, and the family looking at you like, what? Because they're so used to, some of them are so used to being their characteristics or their behavior till it's like normalized.
Right. It's normalized. Right.
You know what I mean? So at that point, where do we go from here? As far as trying to help a soul, touch a soul, reach a soul, you know what I mean? To kind of, I mean, I don't know. Are we skating on thin ice on that one? Or?
It's really hard. I went through counseling, but it always ended up wrong. I was always the wrong one, so counseling was it didn't work. It didn't work because he was always correct. So no matter what I presented or whatever I said, I was the one that was wrong. So it was very hard. I mean, for him to be able to see, or for the person to be able to see it themselves, they have to be able to see it in order to want that change. And, just walking away, if that's going to get them to realize it, sometimes they don't. And sometimes their family are the enablers. They're the ones who side with them. They don't see anything wrong. They figure, well, what did you do wrong? I mean, and they take, a lot of the times they take the person's side. they take their son's or daughter's side.
Right.
You know, so I think just their world, sad to say, has to crumble. You know, in order for them to realize, you know, if people just start walking away, if everybody just starts walking away, you know, then it finally, you know, maybe at the end, you know, they may see what's going on. Maybe it's something with me, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like Chris said, he was like, you have to lose everything. You might have to hit rock bottom, you know, before you realize that, you know, I'm the common denominator here because there's nobody left but me. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, and
right.
You know, that's a scary position to be in. You know what I'm saying? You know, being alone, because that's one of the characteristics of one. They don't, you know, they don't like being alone. They want people to massage their egos, and it's very hard for them to think of anyone other than themselves. So when you hit rock bottom, man, you know, and that's has to happen sometimes with people. You know, you have to lose everything you've got. I mean, even just in everyday life, man, people, you know, lose jobs. And if one thing COVID has taught us, that, you know, I mean, it could be here today and gone tomorrow real quick, you know, and that's jobs, money, and even our own lives. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Final comments. We got to get out of here, y'all. This has been great. Jolene, any final comments you want to offer our listeners?
Just for those who are going through, you know, like I said, I like the fact that we are spreading awareness about this. And so if you are in a situation and you are dealing with this, you know, get help. If you're not sure which steps to take, you know, talk to a counselor, you know, get with your pastor, your church, and find out where you could go to get that assistance. They have connections and they know people who can help you, you know, whether you're scared to step out there or whatever the situation is, you know. For those who are narcissists, I hope that, you know, you can realize that, you know, that something's not right and something needs to change in your life. And so this is a very good show, you know, and I really do thank you for having me on it and just allowing me to share my experiences.
Well, we appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I mean, you know, being transparent like this, especially on this topic, it could be very taxing on your mind and your spirit. So, I mean, being able to be open, we do appreciate you for agreeing to be on this show. Shamika, final comments. Anything you want to offer?
My final comments is protect your peace at all costs. You know, if you are in a situation like that, just reach out to family, friends, pastor, counseling, Facebook group. You know, just find yourself again and just know it's okay. Like, you can walk away, because ultimately, like, your sanity, your health is the most important. And so I do want to thank you guys for having me on the show, because tonight has been part of my healing. A huge part of my healing, because one thing that Jolene can probably attest to, when you're dealing with a narcissist, you start to feel like you're losing your voice. And so in October, when I started listening to the podcast, like, it gave me my voice back. You know what I mean? Like, I found my voice again, starting in October of last year. And so tonight is kind of like, I'm not going to say the final piece, because we'll always continue to heal. But a huge piece of my healing was tonight, because I have a voice and I can say what I want to say. So I just want to say thank you for letting this podcast be a ministry.
Man, thank you. Thank you for saying that. That's why we do this podcast. I mean, we have fun on them, but we always try to leave somebody with something, you know, after they listen. We like to, as we say, laugh, educate, and inspire. Man, thank you. That's deep. I really appreciate both of you guys saying that. Chris, what you got, man?
I want to end it, man. I mean, so much good has been said on tonight, but I'll definitely end it with this. Don't let anybody make you feel that you can't get out. God always makes an exit for any and every situation, if you're dealing with a narcissist or not. for us, for the ones who deal with narcissism, listen, you're not alone. Like the lady said, reach out, Facebook, pastor, counseling, but there is a way out, and God will open that door for you to get out.
That's good, bro. This has been really good. Listen, before I go, Jolene is with Agape Kojic Church in Killeen, Texas. You want to just tell us how, tell us your pastor, how to get there, website information, anything that you want to plug on tonight before we get out of here.
Yes, my pastor is Superintendent Michael Johnson and First Lady Ella Johnson. We have a website. Our website is agapekojic.org. And we also have a Facebook page. If you go to Agape Church of God in Christ, Killeen, Texas, and that is our Facebook page.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you guys you'll have live services as well, don't you?
We do. We have our Sunday morning live services, 10:30 a.m. And then we also have live services. We have Bible studies on Wednesday evenings at 7:30.
Okay. Awesome. Guys, I really appreciate it. Listen, thank everybody. Thank you, Shamika. Thank you, Jolene. Thank you, of course, Pastor Chris. Thank you for all you guys that are out there listening on the Spreaker app. We see you over there. Thank you for supporting us tonight, and everybody that is on Facebook and on Instagram, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us at Next 15 Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also go to the website at next15podcast.com and subscribe. That's right. We're now streaming live on the Spreaker app, along with right here on the Facebook and YouTube. Share this episode. This is a very good episode. You don't want to just take all this information for yourself and be stingy about it. Share it with your co-workers, your friends, your frenemies, your family. And listen, you can always, like I said, go to next15podcast.com and join the Next 15 Podcast family. And listen, let's help each other grow. Let's grow together. That's what it's all about. Also, if you would like to support the podcast, you can buy us some coffee. Just go over to next15podcast.com, find the Buy Me Coffee tab, and there you can click and help me and Pastor Chris and Andrea burn the midnight oil with some cup of coffee. But anyway, guys, we're about to get out of here. For Trey North, Chris McAllister, Jolene, and Shamika, thank you so much. We'll see you guys next Friday night on the Next 15 Podcast Show. This has been a Next 15 Podcast production. Remember, we are live Friday nights at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure you follow us at Next 15 Podcast on Instagram, Spreaker, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe to our website at next15podcast.com, where you can get exclusive content, read our blogs, and get information on upcoming episodes and special events. We'll see you on the Next 15.